perform one act of kindness a day, okay? Now, how does that work? Well, the beauty of performing acts of kindness is you change people's realities just by sometimes the smallest of things. And great example of this yesterday, we were rushing to lunch because we were late. We were trying to film videos and couldn't get a gondola, so we were walking to lunch. And we're going up this big stairway here in Venice. And there's this sweet woman there, probably in her 60s, and she apparently has a hip problem or something, and she's taking one stair at a time and having to rest, and she has this bag in her hand that looks really heavy. And I just stopped. I'm like, can I take your bag, you know? And she spoke Italian, but obviously I can communicate that much. And she's like, oh, thank you. So I take her bag, and she's like, thank you. And then I offered her my arm, and I helped her step by step up and then down to the other side. And you could just feel her whole world melt and open up. It was really beautiful. And such a sweet woman, you know, like walking on the streets of Venice, doing the best she can with what she's got. And that one act of kindness, it was very interesting because her daughter was with her, and her daughter ran up and caught Katerina after and said, where are you guys from? You know, and we're like, oh, Texas and Sweden. And she said, oh, well, I perform in the opera here. And when are you leaving? And it's like, Wednesday. Well, I'm going to see if I can get you a ticket. And so she did. She texted me and she's like, I've got a ticket for you for tomorrow night. And I'll tell you, you could see how it opened up the mother's world. You could see how it opened up the daughter's world. Just one act of kindness can give somebody faith in humanity again. It can show them the gift that being alive can be, and the gift that we can all be for each other. So everything you've done to associate chaos and destruction, will you destroy it and create it, please? Times a gazillion, right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, puck, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And so what happens is chaos is not just destructive, it's actually highly creative. But when you put it in that category, you totally stay away from it as a way of making sure that you don't go into the destructive phase, which causes you to use so much order in your life that you now destroy creativity. What? I know, don't you wish somebody would have talked to you about this before? So you want to have this awareness that chaos is not destruction, chaos is not just destructive, order is not just creative, and order is not right and chaos wrong. You have to be willing to have both. But in order to even get there, once again, you've got to be willing to get over your judgments of chaos as a bad thing, and what you've seen in the world where people take it to an extreme degree and it indeed does destroy. Because, you know, let's think about it for just a moment, okay? Chaos is what powers your car. Whether it's an electric vehicle or whether it's a gasoline combustion engine or a diesel engine, it runs on chaos. It runs on chaos that is actually encased in order, which is the engine around it, but it's a huge source of energy. And so, is it really bad? Or is it just different than the way you thought it was? And the interesting thing in doing Access for all these years is I've seen so many things that people judge as bad that are actually just different than the way you thought they were. And when you can get out of the judgment of it, you can start using them in the way that they were intended and with the possibilities that are actually available. All the major paradigm shifts in the world have been based on chaos. Now, they had to introduce an intensity of chaos to create a major change. I mean, French Revolution being one example. But then what happened is, after all of that intensity of chaos, then what it did was it expanded, changed something dynamically. So the structures of order that were there before were now gone, and then people started instituting other structures of order. And if you look at the French Revolution, it basically changed monarchies from being the source of power and control in the world, and we now have the world that we have now. And once again, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, okay? You leave that up to you, only you know, okay? But this is how it actually works. So the major changes that occur actually have a lot of chaos within them. This is the same thing with the engine in your car. So once again, how many judgments do you have of chaos that keep you from using it to create a greater life and living than you've ever had before and ever thought possible? Everything that is times a gazillion, we destroy and create it, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. And just look at it. See if you can find in the next week 3 sources. And it's interesting because there's a massively loud truck. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's like, rah, chaos, rah. I don't know why I just pointed it out. But in the next week, if you could just look for a few things that you see that actually have chaos within them that actually create. You know, if you look at how Richard Branson, as one example, how he does business, it's very chaotic with also having order to it. And so what happens is next you can start to use the order to start to create. Get out of the judgments of chaos, my friend. Remember, consciousness includes everything and judges nothing, which will allow you to tap into that creative capacity that chaos actually gives you and not have to spend your entire life trying to hold everything small enough to be the one that always maintains order. Now, what's the tool for today? Well, one of the things that can happen sometimes, especially if you do access or use the access tools in your life, is there are periods where you go through major change. And most of the time, you won't even know what happened to create that change. You won't even know why it happened. It's just all of a sudden, everything is different. What we've been conditioned to do is to go to the wrongness of whatever change we're going through, especially when it feels like everything is falling apart around us and we don't know how to form complete sentences anymore. We look at something and we're like, I used to really like this, but I don't even know what to do with this anymore. And then you start to try to order yourself back into the place that you were before the change, thinking that that place that felt comfortable, quote unquote, is actually the place that's actually better for you. And what you want to recognize is that place that was comfortable is exactly what you asked to get out of. So it's like being in this little comfortable box where you've decorated it and you know everything that's in there, only it's about this big. So it's right around you. And then one day you make some demand, run some process, or make some choice, and the walls dissolve. And now it's kind of like being in the Truman Show. And now all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, there's an entire world out here that I didn't realize. So how do you weather the storm when you go through major change? First thing you want to do is don't make it wrong, okay? And that's, unfortunately, that's the first place we go to. And what that does is that causes us to doubt it, causes us to make it wrong and judge it, but also make us wrong for whatever we've just stepped into. And then once again, we try to go back and recreate the box. I mean, think about it. How many times have you done that in your life? Gotten the major change that you'd been asking for. And that's the other part. You want to recognize, I asked for this. Okay, but how many times have you gotten that major change you've been asking for, and then you started going back because it felt weird or different? It's going to feel weird or different, but only for a few days. After that few days, it will feel more peaceful, more joyful, more expansive than you ever thought possible. So you want to recognize that, have that in your awareness. So number one, don't make it wrong. Number two, recognize that you asked for the change. And number three, recognize it'll be about 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days, but usually not much longer than that before you start looking at the world and you can finally be the new space that you've stepped into. So easy for me to say. I've gone through one of those major changes, so I don't remember English anymore. So the first thing is, as far as not making it wrong, you want to ask what's right about this and what's right about me that I'm not getting. And even what's right about this discomfort that I'm not getting. It's a way to antidote the wrongness, because when we're looking at the wrongness, we can't see the strongness that we've just stepped into. So you go, what's right about this or what's right about me that I'm not getting, and that starts to change it, okay? And then the second thing is recognize, and you may even want to write down or at least ask yourself, what is it I've been asking for that is leading to this, and what has changed in my life that I haven't acknowledged? Whew, a lot of stuff, right? And then the other thing that you want to do is, hold on a sec, I have got to get a wasp away from my camera girl. Okay, good, we're good. Not good to have somebody being eaten while they're filming, just not kind. Okay, so then the other thing I want to give you is a really quick process, and it's about points of order. What happens with points of order is, it's anywhere you try to order your reality into a particular point of view, or a limited point of view, or a solid point of view, or a right or a wrong point of view. Now, points of order, if you take POO, the acronym is POO. So it's a really cool process, and you can really screw with people if you run it, which is how much poo am I using to create the upset instead of the joy that I am choosing. Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and create it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, meons. Sorry, the natives are getting restless behind me. So one more time, how much poo am I using to create the upset rather than the joy that I am choosing? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, meons. So just think about it. Think about all the points of order, all the poo you've been using in your life right now to create upset, to create wrongness, to create sadness, to create uncomfortableness rather than joy. Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and create it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and meons.